Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to SFAH Book Club. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day and is winning lots of points for their teams. My name is Robbie, and I've been a staff member at SFAH for 5 summers from 2015 to 2019, and I'm here with you today for the SFAH Book Club and to share a book recommendation with you and a short extract from that. So my book today is Matilda by Roald Dahl. It was one of my favourite books growing up, and I used to read them all the time, so much so that my sister often had to steal the book away from me in order to read it herself. One of the lessons to learn from this book is to always believe in yourself and stand up for what you believe in. So a quick synopsis of the book. It's about a girl called Matilda who is very intelligent, but unfortunately has to deal with her mean and nasty parents, as well as her evil headmistress, Miss Trunchbull. Soon Matilda realises she has special powers, which she uses to defend her friends against Miss Trunchbull and exact revenge on her mean and nasty parents. So in this extract, one of Matilda's classmates has put a newt in his principal's, Miss Trunchbull's jug of water. Okay. Matilda sat down at her desk. The Trunchbull seated herself behind the teacher's table. It was the first time she had sat down during the lesson. Then she reached out a hand and took hold of her water jug. Still holding the jug by the handle, but not lifting it yet, she said, "I have never been able to understand why small children are so disgusting. They are the bane of my life. They are like insects. They should be got rid of as early as possible. We get rid of flies with fly spray and by hanging fly paper. I often have thought of inventing a spray for getting rid of small children. How splendid it would be to walk into this classroom with a gigantic spray gun in my hand and start pumping. Or better still, some huge strips of sticky paper. I would hang them all round the school and you'd all get stuck to them, and that would be the end of it. Wouldn't that be a good idea, Miss Honey?" "If it's meant to be a joke, headmistress, I don't think it's a very funny one," Miss Honey said from the back of the classroom. "You wouldn't, would you, Miss Honey?" the Trunchbull said. "And it's not meant to be a joke. My idea of a perfect school, Miss Honey, is one that has no children in it at all. One of these days, I shall start up a school like that. I think it'll be very successful." "The woman's mad," Miss Honey was telling herself. "She's round the twist. She's the one who ought to be gotten rid of." The Trunchbull now lifted the large blue porcelain water jug and poured some water into her glass. And suddenly, with the water, out came the long slippery newt straight into the glass. Plop! The Trunchbull let out a yelp and leapt off her chair as though a firecracker had gone off underneath her. And now the children also saw the long, thin, yellow-bellied, lizard-like creature twisting and turning in the glass. And they squirmed and jumped about as well, shouting, "What is it? It's disgusting! It's a snake! It's a baby crocodile! It's an alligator! Look out, Miss Trunchbull!" cried Lavender. "I'll bet it bites." The Trunchbull, this mighty female giant, stood there in her green breeches, quivering like a blancmange. She was especially furious that someone had succeeded in making her jump and yell like that, because she prided herself on her toughness. She stared at the creature twisting and wriggling in the glass. Curiously enough, she had never seen a newt before. Natural history was not her strong point. She hadn't the faintest idea what this thing was. It certainly looked extremely unpleasant. Slowly she sat down again in her chair. She looked at this moment more terrifying than ever before. The fires of fury and hatred were smouldering in her small black eyes. "Matilda!" she barked. "Stand up!" "Who? Me?" Matilda said. "What have I done?" "Stand up, you disgusting little roach!" "I haven't done anything, Miss Trunchbull. Honestly, I haven't. I've never seen that slimy thing before." "Stand up at once, you filthy little maggot!" Reluctantly, Matilda got to her feet. She was in the second row. Lavender was in the row behind her, feeling a bit guilty. She hadn't intended to get her friend in trouble. On the other hand, she was certainly not about to own up to it. "You're a vile, repulsive, repellent, malicious little brute!" the Trunchbull was shouting. "You're not fit to be in this school. You ought to be behind bars. That's where you ought to be. I shall have you drummed out of this establishment in utter disgrace. I shall have the prefects chase you down the corridors and out the front door with hockey sticks. I shall have the staff escort you home under armed guard." The Trunchbull was in such a rage that her face had taken on a boiled colour and little flecks of froth were gathering at the corners of her mouth. But she was not the only one losing her cool. Matilda was also beginning to see red. "I didn't do it!" she screamed. "Oh, yes, you did!" the Trunchbull roared back. "Nobody else could have thought of a trick like that. Your father was right to warn me about you." The woman seemed to have lost control of herself completely. She was ranting like a maniac. "You are finished in this school, young lady," she shouted. "You are finished everywhere. I shall personally see to it that you are put away in a place where not even the crows can land their droppings on you. You'll never see the light of day again." Matilda has felt herself getting angrier and angrier and angrier. So unbearably angry that something was bound to explode inside of her. The Trunchbull was sitting behind the teacher's table, staring with a mixture of horror and fascination at the newt wriggling in the glass. Matilda's eyes were also riveted on the glass. And now, quite slowly, there began to creep over Matilda a most extraordinary and peculiar feeling. The feeling was mostly in the eyes. A kind of electricity seemed to be gathering inside of them. A sense of power was brewing in those eyes of hers. A feeling of great strength was settling itself deep inside her eyes. "Tip it," Matilda whispered. "Tip it over." She saw the glass wobble. It actually tilted backwards a fraction of an inch, then righted itself again. She kept pushing at it with all those millions of invisible little arms and hands that were reaching out of her eyes, feeling the power that was flashing straight from those two little dots in the corner of the centre of her eyeballs. "Tip it," she whispered again. "Tip it over." Once more the glass wobbled. She pushed harder still, willing her eyes to shoot more power. And then, very slowly, so slowly she could actually see it happening, the glass began to lean backwards, further and further and further backwards, until it was balancing on just one edge of its base. And there it teetered for a few seconds, before finally toppling over and falling with a sharp tinkle onto the desktop. The water in it and the squirming newt splashed all over Miss Trunchbull's enormous body. The Trunchbull let out a yelp that must have rattled every pane in the building, and for the second time in the last 5 minutes, she shot out of her chair like a rocket. So okay guys, that was the extract from Matilda. I hope you really enjoyed the extract, and I'm sure you absolutely love the book itself. Once you finish reading it, please feel free to tell me what you thought about it, what bits were good, what bits were bad, what bits you found interesting. But in the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic week, win lots of points for your teams, and I will see you all later. Thank you and good night.